Hi, I'm Lisa Wallen with Directional Learning, and today, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna be writing on just the single line here, our bed. Do you notice it's the bed? But we've been using our imagination as we've been writing. Let me bring my picture out because we just finished picture writing. So, do you notice we still have the picture here? We have the tall building and we have the bed here. But we've been imagining that this green line is the top of the building here. So today, I actually put a picture there for you. So this green line's the top of the building. Then middle letters, we've been starting at the middle. Notice this yellow line? That's the middle. And this right here is the bed where we've been sitting letters at. And see our parking garage down here? That's what this bottom is, the parking garage. So our picture hasn't changed. We just made pictures for you, but you've been using your imagination. So we have to show you so that now when we transition just to the red line, you can imagine these lines here. So that's kind of what we have to do when we write. We use our imagination. So notice my apple on the stick is a middle letter, so it started at the middle, the yellow line. So we would start it right there. All right, let's design the apple on the stick. Well, notice our apple on the stick is a middle letter, so it starts at the middle. So we're going to start it right here at the middle. So let's design the apple on the stick. So just remember that story. That cat comes by and he breaks your stick and you cry like a baby. Ah, ah, ah. So notice how it started at the middle and it's sitting on the bed? Well, that's how we write our letters on the lines. Okay, now, if I were to do a tall letter, like say maybe I wanted to do the tall building with the bouncy bed, then I would start it at the top of the building there. So you would start it at the top of the building. So make a tall building. Then I need to go back up towards the red reptile tree. So I make the red reptile tree to the middle. See the yellow line? And then make the bouncy bed sit on the bed. And you did it. You made the bouncy bed. So tall letters will go to the top and middle letters will start at the middle. So let's go write our letters. Make sure you get your pens out. Well, notice that we transitioned just to a red line. And I do have some picture writing here. But you'll have to use your imagination when we get here. So today we're going to write from the apple on the stick, ah, 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 to our very last letter. It's 7 o'clock. Time to get to bed and dream about our sounds. Z, z, z. Just in that order. So let's start with the apple on the stick. Okay, I'm ready to start designing our letters. We're going to write from the apple on the stick all the ways to our last letter. Z, z, z. So let's do that. But you can tell I have new lines up here. They're actually not new lines. This is the bed that we write on. Now, notice that over here I have the picture. Well, all you have to do to write on this line is imagine this picture here. Remember, this is the bed. This is the middle here, this yellow line, and this up here is the top of the building, this green line. So underneath here, this is where the underground is. So when I go to write here, I have to imagine all these lines. This is the bed. This yellow line is the middle for middle letters. And this is the top of the building. So if you can do that by using your imagination, you can write any letter. All right, let's write our first letter. Our first letter is going to be the apple on the stick. One more thing. This picture has direction. If you remember, this side is the left or the one direction. This is the right and the three direction. Now use your imagination. Imagine a tall building here. So this side is the left, the one direction, or the right, the three direction. And same here. This is the left, the one direction, the right, the three direction. So our pictures have direction still. Now, did you know our paper has direction? This whole thing could be paper or a whiteboard. Well, our paper, this whole side is the left or the one direction. This is the two, the middle. This is the three, the right direction. So our paper has direction. Now, did you know our paper has even more direction? I call this part over here the beginning of the paper. This would be the middle of the paper, and this part would be the end of the paper. So I put these pictures up here because I put the sun over here because this right here is the beginning of the paper and the beginning of the day. The sun comes out. So that's the beginning. And over here, we call this the end. So I call this the end of the day. I bring out the moon because the moon comes out at the end of the day. So now we have pictures. This is going to help for our tricky letters that we write. So let's write our first letter. Our first letter is the apple on the stick. Is that a middle letter or a tall letter? It's a middle letter. So I'd get my pen out and I would write the apple on the stick. Just remember that story. That cat comes by and he breaks the stick and you cry like a baby. Ah, ah, ah. So it's a middle letter. Notice how I started it in the middle? Our next letter is a tall letter. So if it's a tall letter, then we have to start at the top of the building. What I do is I look next door and see this green line. I just imagine a green line going across the page. And for the middle, I imagine this is the middle. And of course, this is the bed. Picture's already there for us. So if it's a tall building, hint, hint, we would start at the top. So I would start at the top of the building. And so I start at the top of the building and I go down and then I go to the middle to make the red reptile tree and then the bouncy bed. Ba, ba, ba. So I made the bouncy bed. So do you notice the bouncy bed is pointing to the moon towards the end of the page? Because your bouncy bed, you would get in your bed at the end of the day. So just imagine the moon this way. And notice the bump is pointing towards the moon. So this is your bouncy bed. You would get in your bouncy bed at the end of the day. Notice it's pointing towards the moon, towards the end of the page. So that's a tricky letter. All you have to do is remember the moon lives here at the end. And that's your bed. Bah. Okay, our next letter is our climbing cat. The climbing cat, is that a tall letter or is it a middle letter? It's a middle letter. So I would start it right at the middle. So I could look next door. This is where the red reptile tree is in the middle and start it right there. I just imagine a yellow line that goes across. And that's where I would put the climbing cat. Now make sure you put the climbing cat sitting on the bed because that's where he lives. So start him in the middle and sit him on the bed and make the sound. K, k, k. Notice how your letters are getting really neat. Notice the middle letters are starting at the middle. So here's a middle letter here. Well, there's the red reptile tree. And then there's the climbing cat at the middle. And your tall letters are going all the ways to the top. You're going to notice your handwriting getting a lot neater. Okay, after the climbing cat, well, who chases the climbing cat? It's that digging dog. Now, the digging dog, the first thing he likes to do is he likes to dig in the beginning of the day. So he digs towards the sun. That's the way his bump is going to point. So digging dog points towards the sun. So remember the digging dog. Okay, we can just make the apple. So make the apple and then make his tongue go up. Duh, duh, duh. So notice that we started him at the middle because the digging dog, he goes after that apple. You can see the cat in there too. If you think of the cat as a middle letter. And make the cat and then make the apple and then make his tongue go up to the top of the building. Let's try that again. Let's try it again. So that digging dog, he likes apples. You can think of apples. You can begin your day eating an apple. So make the apple and his tongue goes up. Duh, duh, duh. Notice that his tongue is going up as you write his sound. Duh, duh, duh. Notice that his bump is pointing towards the sun, towards the beginning of the page. He likes to dig in the morning. You could think of this as the start of the page too. So he likes to start his day by digging towards the sun. Okay, our next letter is our elephant. Our elephant is a big letter and he has a trunk. Now, the elephant's a little tricky because when I make the elephant, I'm going to make a few lines to show you. I'm going to pretend that this is the middle because that's the middle, right? Now, when I make his trunk, I put his trunk underneath the yellow line. So underneath, and then I make him go after the cat. Notice the cat is touching the yellow line. So I put his trunk underneath the yellow line. Then I make the cat hit the yellow line. And his baby sound is eh, eh, eh. Now, for our next letter, it's our favorite candy cane. So our favorite candy cane, it's a tall letter. If you remember, it hangs from the red reptile tree. So I find the top. So here's the top, and that's where I start it. So the favorite candy cane has a ribbon. Then I put the ribbon right down the middle. That's the sound. Now, remember, this has a sleepy line. So does this one. That's how you remember the sequence. Okay, our next letter if this is the favorite candy cane, who eats the candy cane? The goat. And the goat we make like the apple, so we start it at the middle. So find the middle, make the apple, and make his smile go underground. And then you do the goat sound. Ga, ga, ga. The next letter is our hill. In our hill, we have to go down the tall building, then to the hill. So hit tall, so we start at the top. So I find the green line and I start the hill at the top. So make the tall building, then I make the red reptile tree to the middle, to the yellow line. Then you go over that hill. You're so tired. And our next letter is the Indian elephant. So for the Indian elephant, I'm going to find the middle because I want to show you. So here's the middle. Now for the Indian elephant, okay, he has an eye. Remember, he looks at you. So the first thing you do is you make his eye. And I make his eye a little on top of the yellow line. Then his trunk hits the yellow line. And you made the Indian elephant. So we make the Indian elephant a little different. His trunk hits the yellow line, but remember, we make his eye first. So his eye goes on top of the yellow line, then make his trunk hit the yellow line. Now let's try it without the picture. So remember, I make his eye just a little above and then make his trunk hit that yellow line. And sit him on the bed, and you heard his sound, so give him an eye. We just did our first set of letters. So now we're going to move to our next set of letters. Notice there's no pictures there, but now that you know how to use your imagination, it's super easy. So all you have to do, this is the bed, so this would be the middle, and then this is the top of the building, and any letters that go underground, go underground. So now you know how to use your imagination. Okay, so if this is the Indian elephant, our next letter is our joking joker. Because remember, to remember this one, it has a dot. So our next one has a dot. And same thing, you just put your dot above the yellow line. So get your pen out and imagine the middle. So put it above the middle and then give them a smile that goes underground. Ja, ja, ja. Our next letter is our king. And remember, you play the king cards in the tall building. So you have to imagine the tall building. So make the tall building. Then crown him king, give him legs. K, k, k. Then all we do for this letter is we look back at the tall building. And your tall building's there. So now you know where to place your tall building. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just look back at the letter before to figure out where to place the next letter. So there's the tall building. So get your pen out and make the tall building. Pretty easy. Our next letter, if this is the city, the next letter is in the mountains. So make the red reptile tree to the middle and make 2 bumps. And you made biggest mountain wins. Then find the middle and make our next mountain, the little mountain. Then, after you go through the little mountain, guess what? You think you see an apple. You take a bite, turns out to be a rock. Notice it's a middle letter. Then, guess what? You're at the dentist. You're in the dentist chair. And you look out the window and you see a pink, pink palace. This is a middle letter too. So you would start it at the middle. Then you would go underground. Then go to the red reptile tree to the middle. Then put your palace, make your palace, your pink, pink lips. Okay, so we're ready? So find the middle, go underground, come back to the red reptile tree, then you turn the lights on with your pink, pink lips. Pa, pa, pa. Notice the palace goes underground and it's a middle letter? It's a middle letter because it's a small palace. Okay, the next letter is, guess who lives in the palace? The queen. And the queen is holding the apple, so it's a middle letter. So you make the apple and find the middle. Then you give her a body that goes underground and then a dancing leg towards the red reptile tree. Qua, qua, qua. Then our next letter is our red reptile tree. That's easy. It's a middle letter. So ra, ra, ra. You did it. Notice that your letters are getting really neat. Notice how the tall letters are going to the top. The middle letters are kind of go all at the middle. Nice job. So now we're moving on to our next set of letters. Okay, so what would come after the red reptile tree? Who slides down the red reptile tree or slithers down the red reptile tree? Well, it's a reptile. It's Slimy the snake. And Slimy the snake, remember, it's a middle letter. It has the climbing cat in it. So I find the middle and make a cat and then an upside down cat. Notice how all your letters are sitting on the bed nicely too? So the sound for that is s, s, s. Now, the next letter is Tommy the turtle. It's a reptile and he lives in the tall building. So make a tall building and then put him to bed in the middle. There you go. T, t, t. Our next letter is the because remember, next letter, turtles are round, so it's a round letter at the bottom and it's a middle letter. So it's the up guy. So make the famous up guy. Start him in the middle, give him a nose, and make him sit on the bed and give him two eyes. You heard his sound. The next letter, if this is round at the bottom, our next letter is pointy at the bottom. Can you think what it is? It's that one bird. So find the middle. There you go. And our next letter, that's one bird, is two birds. It's a middle letter. So get two birds. Wah, wah, wah. Then we say watch out for their Sharpie scissors. Kss, kss, kss. And that's a middle letter. Notice how all your middle letters are starting at the middle. Notice your handwriting is getting really neat. You'll notice that. And you're parking your letters really nice on the lines too, on the bed. Okay, our next letter is, if this is ks, 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 our next letter is Yak got a haircut. Yeah. So remember, Yak got a haircut by the scissors. So he's a middle letter. So give him a haircut and then give him a diagonal line that goes underground. Yeah. And our last letter, do you know what it is? It's 7 o'clock. Time to get to bed and dream about our sounds. And that's a middle letter too. So make the 7 o'clock and then put them to bed. Z, z, z. You did it. You wrote all the letters on one line. So you just used your imagination. So now you can write your letters on line paper. Now that you learned how to write on line paper, look, I have line paper here. We're going to practice writing words. That's right. So it's pretty easy. Okay, so all we do is write the letters that we learned. Okay, this right here is a picture of a cat. So this says cat. This is a picture of a dog. So it says dog. So we're going to practice writing the letters. Okay, so what I do when I want to copy something, a word like this, I look at the first letter. That's this letter here, the letter that goes towards the one direction or towards the left. So I find the first letter and then I copy it. So I know this is a middle letter already. So I'm going to write it, find the middle here. This is the middle, and I'm going to write the cat. So can we do that? So I write the letter K. Then I go to the next letter. Notice this letter looks different from the apple on the stick that we've been writing. It does have a bump, and its bump still points towards the one or towards the left direction. And do you notice that it has the cat in it and maybe a little tiny apple there? That's how you can spot the apple on the stick. That's the apple on the stick. But guess what? We don't have to write the apple on the stick like that. We write it the way I taught you. So remember, that cat comes by and breaks the stick. So that's how we're going to write our apple on the stick. So when we write the next letter, you just park it right next to the cat. So let's make the next cat. So we make the cat and turn him into the apple. So make the cat and have him break that stick. Notice that I just parked it right next door because we're making a word. That's what we do when we make words. So my next letter, this is Tommy the turtle. He looks a little different too. So when we start to read things, magazines, then the letters can look different. But don't let that trick you. You can always tell that this is the apple and this is Tommy the turtle. So to make Tommy the turtle, we would make it the same way. We would make the tall building and then put him to bed. Don't worry about the curve there. We don't have to do that. We just have to be able to read it. And that's Tommy the turtle. So now we write it the way we showed you in the handwriting program. You make the tall building and then you put Tommy the turtle to bed in the middle. And you wrote the word cat. Did you notice something? our sounds are making words. So all the letters that we learned in the handwriting program, the sounds are making words. That's why we practice sounds. And we practice writing the letters and seeing the letters. Okay, you just wrote the word cat. Okay, next, we're going to write our next word. And when we write our next word, notice that they're not close to each other. So we give them a little space because they're different words. Okay, so the next word, I would just go ahead and give myself a little space and write the digging dog because that's the first word. So do you notice? I would find the letter on the one side. So this would be the one. This would be the middle. This would be the end. So I find the first letter, and that's the digging dog. And the digging dog, we know it's a middle letter. It starts in the middle because it has the apple. Then it goes up towards the top of the building. Okay, so I would give myself a little space. So maybe I would write the digging dog right here. I make the apple. Then I go up the building. And notice how I gave myself a little space here? I probably would give myself just a little bit more space because you want to separate them because they're different words. So I would make my apple on the stick. It's a middle letter. So make the apple, then make his tongue go up. Then the next letter is in the middle. It's being squished. So I would make the rock. So we make the rock right next to the digging dog. And we start it like when we started the apple. So I start it like the apple in the middle. And then I turn it into the rock. And you made the rock or the dentist sound. The next letter, this is the goat. And doesn't it look different from the way we write it? It does! But this is the goat, but when you see it in magazines or you see it in a book or maybe a comic book, they may write it like this. So I'm showing you so that you know that this is just our goat. I kind of think of this as his legs and he's sitting down. Or you could think of it as a smile. And his smile may look like this when he's sleeping. Okay, so this is the goat. Okay, so the goat, we don't write it like this. We write it like we showed you. So you just make the apple on the stick, so it's a middle letter. So we make the apple on the stick, and then we make a smile go underground. And there you go. You made the goat. So now that you know how to write on this line, it makes it pretty easy. You just wrote the word dog. So our letters make up words because they have sounds. So now you know how to write on this type of paper. Pretty easy. Next, I wanted to show you how to write on just line paper. So what if we just had the bed? Well, it's the same thing, remember? We have to imagine there's a green line up here because that's the top of the building. And we have to imagine a middle line in the middle. So if you were to write this word here, we do it the same way. So I would get my pen out and the first letter I would write is the K. So I would find the middle and now that's going to be my middle. Then I would make the apple on the stick right next door. And when I make the apple on the stick, I'm going to start it where I made the cat. Then I would pick up my pen and do the next letter right next door. And that's Tommy the Turtle. So I have to find the top of the building and then put him to bed by the apple. And you did it. The word is cat. And then for the next letter, I would do the same thing for the next word. I would give myself a little space, and then I would make the digging dog. And remember where you made the apple, so make it in the same spot. And then make his tongue go up to the top where Tommy the Turtle is. And notice the apple is at the same spot, same level, because it's in the middle. And then I would make my dog. I would continue making my dog, so I would make my rock right next door, and then my goat. And make sure, when you're writing, make sure that you're sitting it on the bed, just like that. That's better, because it takes practice. Then put your goat right next to the rock, so make your apple, and then make your goat's smile go underground. And you did it! You wrote the word cat and dog on this one line by just imagining all the lines. You did it! You did it! Before we end today, I want to show you one more thing. I want to show you how to write on line paper like this. You may find binder, they call it binder paper too. Notice it has all these lines here. Well, we didn't practice for lines like that, but we did. I want to show you. Okay, just because it has blue lines doesn't mean they're all blue. We have to use our imagination. I want to tell you this red line here is called the margin. We don't write in here. We write here. This is where we start it, right at the red line. So this is where we would start the word. And this line right here, I imagine it to be red. And above it is our middle line, our yellow line. And at the very top is the top of the building. So that's kind of how I imagine it. Okay, so I'll show you. This is how I imagine it. I bring this out here and I place it like this. Now I have a red line. Look at the red line. And you have to imagine the red line going all the ways across the paper. And see our yellow line? There's our middle and there's our top there. So if I wanted to write the word cat, I would just do the same thing. It's the same thing that we've been doing. Watch. If I want to write the word cat, remember, I have to start it right at the margin right here. We don't start on this side. We start here. This is our starting spot. So I get my pen out and I find the middle and I park my cat right next there, door to that line. Then I got to do my apple on a stick. Well, remember, we make it right at the middle and everything sits on the bed. And I made the ah. Then I need to make Tommy the turtle. So Tommy the turtle is tall. So I start at the top of the building and then I cross him, put him to sleep in the middle, and I wrote the word cat. Pretty easy. Do you see? We've already learned how to do it. Now, if I wanted to write on this next line here, well, now I can use my imagination. I know that this part here is the red. This is where the letter sits. This part's the middle, and this part over here, this is the tricky part. This is the top of this line. So if I wanted to write the word dog, I would put it right here, right by the margin. So that's my starting place. So I get my pen out and I find the middle. There's the middle. Then I make the apple sit on the bed. Then I make him go up to the top. See how he went to the top? Then I make the rock. It's a middle letter. See how nice it's sitting on the bed? Then I make my goat right next door to it. And he goes underground. And I wrote the word dog. Notice I didn't have to even make lines. I just imagined this being the bed, this being the middle, and this is the top. And if I were to go to the next line, this is the bottom, the bed, the middle, the top. That's all you do when you write on line paper. Even though these lines are blue, we just imagine the colors. Then guess what? It's easy to write. So now that you know how to write our letters and link the sounds to our lowercase letters, that's what we worked on. Now we can start teaching you the reading part. So make sure you watch Directional Learning because we can't wait to teach you more.